All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. Today, we're not going to be discussing fads. We're not diving into motivation hacks or quick time-saving tricks. We're talking about your life, the one and only life you get, and how to live it wisely before it's too late. The reality is, a lot of folks are so caught up in just making it through the day that they completely forget. They're quietly letting their entire life slip away. Let me ask you something. Have you ever glanced at the clock, realized it's already evening, and wondered where the heck the day went? Now, picture that same feeling, but instead of just the day being gone, it's an entire decade. Here's a fact that hardly anyone mentions. The average person lives for about 30,000 days. Not 90 years, not forever, just 30,000 days. If you're 25, you've already used up over 9,000 of those days. If you're 40, you've spent 14,600 days. And if you're 60, you're past 21,000. Now, tell me, how many of those days do you honestly remember? How many were truly yours? How many felt meaningful? How many made you feel truly alive? Most people don't even realize life is flying by until they look back one day, and all they feel is regret. They start saying things like, I should have done that when I had the chance. I should have told them how I felt. I should have spent more time with my parents. I should have chased my dream instead of just doing what everyone expected of me. But by then, it's too late. That's why I made this video, to help you realize something powerful. You don't need more time. You need to use it better. Today, I'm going to share 10 powerful life strategies that will help you use your time, your energy, your attention, and your heart in the smartest, most meaningful, and most beautiful way possible. Not just from some abstract theory, but from reality, from hard truths, from understanding how people think, from lived experience.
Welcome to our channel, where you don't just pick up English, you discover how to cultivate your thinking, foster personal growth, and develop inner strength. Today's topic is something most people overlook, but the most accomplished individuals quietly put into practice every single day. Let me pose a question to you. Have you ever wondered why it is that the most successful individuals often tend to speak less? They don't get into arguments in every conversation. They don't feel the need to explain their actions or beliefs to everyone they encounter. They don't react emotionally to every insult that comes their way. Why is that? Because they understand a fundamental truth. Words, once uttered, can never truly be retracted. You can offer an apology, you can attempt to clarify your meaning, but the damage has already been done. You see, a person might forget a compliment they received, but they will never forget an insult that stung them. Silence isn't a sign of weakness. It's a form of protection. It's an indicator of inner power. It represents careful preparation. The person who speaks infrequently tends to listen attentively. And the person who listens more attentively inevitably learns more. And when you expand your knowledge base, you accelerate your personal development. Always remember this saying, wise individuals speak because they have something meaningful to contribute, while fools speak simply because they feel compelled to say something, anything. This video isn't about encouraging shyness. It's not about promoting introversion. This video focuses on cultivating wisdom, achieving inner calmness, developing self-control, and becoming a force to be reckoned with, all while maintaining a sense of quiet reserve. Because when you choose to speak less, you safeguard your personal energy, protect your public image, maintain your focus, and preserve your mental clarity. By the time you finish watching this video, you'll understand the hidden power that silence holds, appreciate the advantages of maintaining composure, learn how to leverage silence as a strategic tool for achieving success in life, and discover how to gain mastery over your own thoughts and emotions. This video won't just provide inspiration, it will also help you enhance your English language skills, expand your vocabulary, and improve the way you articulate your thoughts and formulate your ideas. So, stick around until the very end, because this video might just bring about a profound transformation in your life. Benefit number 1, you gain a competitive edge. When you're not constantly talking, you avoid revealing your plans to others. You don't disclose the projects you're currently working on. You don't share every passing idea, every fleeting dream, or every strategic move you intend to make. You operate with a sense of quiet determination. You let your achievements speak for themselves. Let me share a compelling example. There was a young man who had a burning desire to launch his own business. All of his friends told him, "You can't pull that off. You don't have the necessary skills or knowledge." He didn't engage in arguments. He didn't waste time defending his capabilities. He simply smiled and dedicated himself to his work in silence. While his peers were busy showcasing their lives on social media, he was immersed in books, acquiring new skills, and working tirelessly into the night. They ridiculed him for his dedication. 1 year later, they were stunned. He had successfully built a profitable business. And when they inquired, "How did you manage to accomplish this?" he simply replied, "I was too busy working to waste time talking." Silence allowed him to stay laser-focused. Silence protected his energy from distractions, and silence afforded him the element of surprise. So always remember this. A person who operates in silence is always making progress because they don't waste precious time trying to validate their worth to others. Benefit number 2. You develop a deeper understanding of people's true intentions. When you choose to be silent, you create space for others to express themselves. And when they express themselves, they reveal their authentic nature. You begin to discern the truth that lies beneath their words. You become attuned to who is being dishonest, who is insecure, who is attempting to manipulate you, and who is genuinely sincere. Because people invariably expose their true selves when they talk excessively. Let me provide a powerful, real-world example. Imagine you're in a social gathering with a group of friends. Everyone is laughing, joking, and speaking at a high volume. But you're simply sitting quietly, observing the interactions. Suddenly, you begin to notice subtle patterns. One person consistently speaks negatively about others behind their backs. Another person constantly brags about their financial wealth. Another person makes subtle, hurtful jokes at the expense of others. Because you're silent, you're able to perceive these dynamics with clarity. But they don't notice you noticing. They might assume you're not particularly intelligent, but in your mind, you've already formed a comprehensive assessment of each individual. You've already determined who is trustworthy and who is not. That's the power that silence provides. The wiser you become, the less you feel the need to speak. Because now you're listening with the intention of understanding, not simply with the intention of formulating a response. In business negotiations, in interpersonal relationships, in everyday life, the silent observer invariably prevails because silence provides the mental space necessary for clear and objective thinking. It gives you the power to make informed and judicious decisions. Benefit number 3, the first person to speak typically loses. In the game of life, silence isn't just a state of tranquility. It's a powerful strategic advantage. And one of the most crucial principles in business negotiations and effective leadership is this: the first individual to speak generally comes out on the losing end. Why is that the case? Because when you speak first, you inadvertently reveal your thoughts and intentions. You essentially show your hand, giving the other person a distinct advantage. But when you remain silent, you create a sense of unease and uncertainty in the other person's mind. You force them to speculate. You make them feel nervous and insecure. Let me illustrate this with a compelling example. There was a man who attended a job interview at a prominent corporation. The interviewer stated, "We're prepared to offer you an annual salary of $70,000. How does that sound to you?" The man didn't respond immediately. He simply smiled and remained silent. 10 seconds elapsed. 15 seconds. The silence became increasingly awkward and uncomfortable. Eventually, the interviewer spoke again. "Okay, let me consult with human resources. Perhaps we can increase the offer to $80,000. Boom. The man didn't utter a single word, yet he secured an additional $10,000 simply by exercising the power of silence. This isn't merely a clever trick. It's a demonstration of inner power. In any high-stakes negotiation, whether it's in the realm of business or politics, the individual who speaks first often relinquishes control of the situation. Now let's consider a well-known example, Jack Ma, the visionary founder of Alibaba. After building one of the largest and most influential companies in China, Jack Ma attained a level of power and notoriety that made him somewhat reckless. He began giving numerous interviews and publicly criticizing powerful institutions. Then, seemingly overnight, he vanished from public view. For several months, his whereabouts remained a mystery. That's when people came to the realization that in certain situations, silence isn't just a powerful tool, it's an essential element for survival. When he eventually resurfaced, he was a changed man. He had learned a valuable lesson, that speaking too freely can sometimes put you in a precarious position. So remember this, the strongest and most influential person in the room is often the quietest one. Don't feel compelled to rush into speaking. Don't try to impress others with your words. Don't feel the need to constantly explain yourself, because silence keeps the power dynamic firmly in your control. Benefit number 4, you can maintain focus in the face of danger. When danger arises, most people succumb to panic. They scream, they run aimlessly, they speak without thinking clearly, and they act impulsively without considering the potential consequences. But the person who remains silent is able to think rationally, and the person who thinks clearly has a greater chance of survival. Let me share a true and compelling story. There was a soldier who found himself trapped in enemy territory. His team had been separated. His radio was malfunctioning. Night had fallen. He was completely alone. All around him, enemy soldiers patrolled with their weapons. The slightest sound could mean certain death. What did he do in that desperate situation? He remained completely silent. He slowed his breathing. He suppressed any urge to move. He didn't even allow himself to engage in internal dialogue. He became one with the enveloping silence. For 6 agonizing hours, he waited patiently. Then, when the opportune moment presented itself, he made his escape. Later, in an interview, he stated, "Silence saved my life. If I had made any sudden movements or even uttered a whisper, I wouldn't be here today." Now, you might not find yourself on a literal battlefield, but in life, danger takes on many different forms. But despite his privileged circumstances, he felt a profound sense of emptiness within. So, he made the courageous decision to leave everything behind and enter a world of profound silence. He wandered alone through dense forests. He meditated beneath the shade of a tree, abstaining from speech for days on end, abstaining from food, abstaining from movement, abstaining from complaint, simply observing his thoughts, simply focusing on his breath, simply striving to attain a higher state of being. And in that sustained state of silence, he experienced a spiritual awakening. He once famously stated, "Silence is the language of the awakened." What he meant by this is that when you cease your incessant talking, you begin to hear the voice of your own soul. You begin to discern what truly matters in your life. Now, let's apply this concept to the world we inhabit today. You see people everywhere constantly posting, talking, shouting, and complaining. But the truly strong and resilient individuals are the ones who maintain a quiet reserve. They're not preoccupied with trying to impress others. They're diligently building their character and honing their skills in the shadows, much like a boxer undergoing rigorous training. No one sees him putting in the hours, but every morning at 5 a.m., he's diligently running. Every night, he's relentlessly punching the heavy bag. He doesn't flood social media with boastful stories. He doesn't engage in needless shouting. And then one day, he steps into the ring, and the world is astonished and exclaims, "Where did he come from?" He emerged from a crucible of silence. That's the transformative power of silence. It builds you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It cultivates discipline, patience, emotional control, mental focus, and most importantly, inner power. Even in popular television shows like Peaky Blinders, you can observe how Tommy Shelby never reacts hastily. He listens intently, he observes carefully, he enters a room and speaks sparingly, but every word he utters carries the force of a bullet because people instinctively understand that the quietest person in the room is often the most dangerous. That's not simply a fictional construct. It's a reflection of authentic power dynamics. So, ask yourself honestly, are you squandering your inner strength by talking excessively? Or are you diligently building your power in silence? Because silence isn't an indicator of weakness. Silence is where legends are forged. Benefit number 6. Silence enhances your negotiation skills. Negotiation isn't simply a battle of words. It's a subtle interplay of patience, energy, and control. And in this intricate game, the silent individual invariably emerges victorious. Why? Because when you maintain your silence, you don't betray any signs of desperation. You don't inadvertently reveal your vulnerabilities. You don't allow your emotions to dictate the terms of the deal. You create an aura of mystery and intrigue. You generate a sense of pressure on the other party. You dictate the tempo of the negotiation. Let's examine a compelling example from history, Nelson Mandela. He endured 27 years of unjust imprisonment. Most individuals would emerge from such an ordeal broken, weakened, filled with anger, and profoundly disoriented. But when Mandela walked out of that prison, he didn't engage in fiery rhetoric. He didn't demand retribution. He remained composed and dignified. He maintained a sense of quiet resolve. And when the time came to negotiate with the very leaders who had imprisoned him, he didn't resort to heated arguments. He didn't raise his voice in anger. He listened attentively, and when he finally spoke, the silence that preceded each word caused the room to fall into a state of hushed reverence because people could sense that this man wasn't speaking from a place of ego. This man was speaking from a position of unwavering strength. And what was the ultimate outcome? He didn't just secure his own freedom. He liberated an entire nation from the shackles of oppression. That's the profound power of silence in negotiation. Now, let's transition to the realm of business. Imagine two business executives seated at a table. One of them is constantly talking, incessantly declaring, "I desperately want this deal. I'm prepared to offer you 20%. I can even increase the offer further. Let's finalize this agreement today." The other executive sits quietly, listening intently, observing every nuance. Then, he utters a single, carefully crafted sentence. "I believe you're significantly undervaluing our true worth." And then he lapses back into silence. The atmosphere in the room becomes thick with tension. The first executive begins to experience a sense of unease and panic. He doesn't know what the other executive is thinking or planning. That deliberate silence, that pregnant pause, that unwavering stillness, it creates immense pressure. It compels the other side to capitulate, because in the art of negotiation, the individual who speaks less invariably gains more. And remember, when you choose to remain silent, you afford the other person the opportunity to reveal their true intentions. You listen not simply to formulate a response, but to genuinely understand their underlying motivations. And sometimes, your very silence compels them to negotiate against themselves. They start revising their own offer in a desperate attempt to close the deal. You simply sit back and observe the unfolding events. That's true and unadulterated control. That's how the world's most effective leaders, CEOs, politicians, and warriors consistently achieve victory. They don't resort to shouting. They don't engage in pleading. They don't act impulsively. They sit patiently. They breathe deeply. And they allow the power of silence to work its transformative magic. Once upon a time, there was a man who embarked on a journey around the world in search of happiness. He attended extravagant parties, purchased expensive cars, visited ancient temples, and consulted with renowned gurus. But he still felt a persistent sense of emptiness within his soul. Then, one day, he made the radical decision to lock himself in a small cabin nestled deep in the mountains. No phone, no books, no human interaction, just silence. On the first day, he experienced a profound sense of panic. On the second day, he wept uncontrollably. On the third day, he began to hear something new and unexpected. Not a voice from the external world, but a voice emanating from within his own being. He wrote in his journal, "I finally met someone I had been neglecting my entire life, myself." That's the transformative power of silence. It introduces you to the most important person in your life, yourself. You begin to discern what you genuinely want, what deep-seated wounds you've been concealing, what cherished dreams you've allowed to fade away, what destructive habits are sabotaging your well-being, and what core values should be guiding your actions. It's not a substitute for therapy. It's not a form of magic. It's simply the profound and transformative power of silence. You begin to differentiate between what the world has conditioned you to be and what you were actually born to be. In silence, there is no judgment, no pressure, no noise, only unfiltered truth. And the underlying truth is this: you cannot experience true growth until you genuinely know yourself. You cannot begin to heal until you confront what is causing you pain. And you cannot build a fulfilling future until you come to terms with your past. So, give yourself the invaluable gift of silence, not for the benefit of the world, but for the enrichment of your own soul. Because the most profound transformations always originate from within. Benefit number 8. Silence commands people's attention. You take the time to think critically before speaking. You refrain from rushing to judgment. You abstain from engaging in gossip. You respect confidences and refrain from betraying private conversations. Let me ask you a personal question. When something deeply emotional or profoundly significant occurs in your life, who do you instinctively turn to? The friend who is constantly talking and offering unsolicited advice, or the friend who simply sits with you in silence, holds your hand in quiet understanding, nods gently in empathetic acknowledgement, and listens intently with their eyes? You instinctively gravitate toward the friend you trust most because they don't feel the need to fill the air with empty words. Their very presence conveys everything you need to know. Let me share the inspiring story of Kalpana Chawla, the pioneering Indian-American astronaut. During her rigorous training, she was known for a rare and admirable quality. While her fellow candidates were preoccupied with showcasing their knowledge and attempting to demonstrate their superior intellect, Kalpana maintained a quiet demeanor. She listened attentively. She absorbed information like a sponge. She meticulously practiced her skills. One of her instructors once remarked, "When she did speak, people stopped what they were doing and listened intently because her silence had already earned their respect and admiration." That's the kind of silence that cultivates unwavering trust. People begin to think, if she's being so quiet, she must be incredibly serious about what she's doing. If he's not engaging in idle chatter, he must be deeply engaged in profound thought. He doesn't engage in backstabbing or spreading rumors behind people's backs. She doesn't speak without a clear and meaningful purpose. When your silence becomes your defining strength, your character naturally becomes your most compelling voice. Sometimes, your silence offers a silent absolution. "I forgive you," even though words may be lacking. Sometimes, your silence provides a steadfast reassurance. "I'm still here for you, no matter what challenges we may face." We often erroneously believe that love is solely defined by the spoken word. "I love you," "I miss you," "I'm sorry." But the most profound and transformative expressions of love are often experienced in the moments when no words are necessary. And in the realm of true friendship, the best friends are often able to sit together in comfortable silence for hours on end and still feel deeply connected. Because that shared silence conveys a powerful message. I don't need to constantly fill the void with conversation in order to feel close to you. I don't feel the need to impress you with my wit or intelligence. I am completely at peace in your presence. That's the essence of true and unadulterated intimacy. Even in the context of parent-child relationships, sometimes the greatest bond isn't forged through constant advice-giving, but rather through the simple act of sitting together in a kitchen, quietly sipping tea in comfortable silence, and feeling a profound sense of safety and belonging. So, if your desire is to cultivate great and enduring relationships, make a conscious effort to listen more attentively, talk less frequently, understand more deeply, react less impulsively, and pause more thoughtfully. And when you do finally choose to speak, ensure that your words are delivered with kindness, with intention, and with mindful presence. Because the individual who possesses the wisdom to know when to remain silent is ultimately the individual who truly understands how to love unconditionally. Now that you possess a deep and comprehensive understanding of the transformative benefits that silence can unlock in your life, you might be wondering, how can I cultivate this practice in my own daily life? He thinks deeply and articulates his thoughts with calmness and precision. That's precisely why people trust and admire him. That's precisely why every word he utters carries genuine weight and credibility, because he deeply respects the power of silence that exists between his words. You can cultivate the same empowering practice in your own life. The next time someone says something rude or attempts to provoke you, simply pause deliberately. Resist the urge to offer an immediate reply. Look directly into their eyes. Offer a soft and gentle smile. Say absolutely nothing. Allow the power of your silence to speak far more eloquently than your voice ever could. Because the individual who possesses the ability to pause strategically is the individual who has the power to control any given situation. Step 2. Dedicate quality time to being alone with yourself. Embrace the profound opportunity to encounter your true self in the sanctuary of silence. The second crucial step in mastering the art of silence is this: be alone with your thoughts and emotions. Be still and present in the moment. Be silent and receptive to inner guidance. Not merely for a few fleeting minutes, but make this practice a consistent and non-negotiable daily habit. Wake up early before the rest of the world stirs. Seek out a quiet and secluded corner where you can be free from distractions. Leave your phone outside the room. Gently close your eyes and simply be silent, allowing yourself to be fully present in the moment. Initially, your mind will likely resist this exercise. It will likely whisper, "This is incredibly boring. Nothing of any consequence is happening." Check your phone to see if you've received any new messages. But resist the temptation to move or engage with external stimuli. Because in that sustained state of stillness, you will inevitably begin to encounter someone of paramount importance, yourself. You will begin to notice. True leaders don't need to raise their voices because when their silence enters the room, every other voice instinctively lowers itself. Silence isn't simply the absence of sound, it's the presence of heightened awareness. The more silent your mind becomes, the sharper your observational skills will be. You'll start to understand what truly motivates people, what genuinely scares them, what secrets they're desperately trying to conceal, and what they truly desire. And when you possess this level of understanding, you don't need to fight or confront people. You can guide them. You can lead them effectively. So, make silence your personal superpower. The next time someone is sharing a story with you, don't just passively listen to the words they're saying. Pay close attention to their eyes. Feel their underlying energy. Notice their subtle pauses and hesitations. Because what's left unsaid is often far more significant than what's explicitly stated. This is how true leaders are born, by remaining quiet, staying fully present, and noticing the things that others consistently overlook. Step 5. Master the art of not reacting. Silence is a source of inner strength, not a form of suppression. The fifth and final step is the most challenging, but also the most transformative. Learn to maintain your silence, even when it's painful or difficult. This is the art of not reacting. People often mistake silence for weakness, but in reality, true silence is a demonstration of self-control. When someone insults you, respond with silence. When someone betrays your trust, respond with silence. When someone misunderstands you, respond with silence. Not because you're weak or apathetic, but because you're consciously choosing peace over pride, wisdom over ego, and personal growth over impulsive reactions. Let me share a real-life example from the world of sports. There was once a young tennis player named Naomi Osaka. Let them. You simply stay quiet, work diligently, protect your energy, and move forward in silence. Because the day your success speaks for itself, the world will listen without interruption. You don't have to constantly prove your worth to anyone. You are already enough. You are already powerful. You just need to trust the quiet strength that resides within you. So, starting today, don't fear silence. Don't avoid it. Embrace it wholeheartedly, because it's not just a useful skill, it's your ultimate superpower. And if you found value in this message, if it resonated with your heart, if it stirred something powerful within you, then please subscribe to our channel, because every day, we don't just teach English. We help you become wiser, stronger, and truly unbreakable. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay silent, stay powerful. Your silence is your strength.